Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. It's Sunny on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Koshiro's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Let me get this plugged in, and we are off to the races, y'all. Okay, let's do it. Oh, down. There we go. Okay. As you wiped the hair out of his face, you noticed he had the most peaceful expression. So very surprising for one who had just been murdered in cold blood. Why are you smiling? This is not a time when you should be smiling. He looked as though he was expecting this moment. That would have been impossible. He couldn't have known he was going to die. You ran your hands along his pale face and looked into his eyes, hoping they would open and stare back at you. You checked his pulse and breathing, but once wasn't enough. A second time, a third, a fourth. You pinched yourself and closed your eyes tightly before opening them wide. Still, he didn't stir. Your father had reassured you. He told you everything he was going to be okay. The guards were going to leave no person unchecked. All entrances and exits would be watched. It all fell apart. All that preparation was meaningless. You wanted to blame someone. Anyone. Jake, Koshiro slipped back into the shadows as you glared at him. The tears overflowed and began to slide off of your cheeks. He wouldn't look at you, and it didn't help his case. Your gut twisted as you hugged your father tightly, though it gave you no satisfaction or peace of mind. He had no warmth, and he would never hug you back. There were no words of wisdom he would impart, and all arguments you had now would be one-sided. But the hardest thing to accept was that you never even got to say goodbye. A great blanket of sorrow and grief laid heavily over you. As far as you were concerned, you were the only one in the room right now. If a wave were to sweep over the castle into the sea, you likely would not move from your spot. Mind and spirit broken, you wanted to stay here for eternity. Right now, there was no one in the world who could ever understand how you felt. Death appeared before you, its form changing, swaying. You accepted him as a friend. He was here to take you away to be with your father once more. Death glanced away for a moment, distracted by a soft sound thumping along the floor. You don't know where it went, but it vanished into the smoke in the room. Where had he gone? Did he decide otherwise? He looked on with dead eyes as two silvery blades wandered through the darkness. Every time they clashed, small flashes of light shined brilliantly. One of the lights flashed mere inches from your face. You reached out to touch it, but it went as soon as it came. It was faint, but you also caught two shadows waltzing in the room. They didn't seem to be following each other's rhythm, though, and seemed to be at odds with each other as though in a lover's quarrel. You let out a hollow chuckle. Even you could dance better than that. A shadow collapsed to the floor, and the other drifted towards you. The shadow wanted to say something, but it couldn't utter a word. You let go of your father's body, but held tight to his hand as the shadow lifted you up with ease. The shadow was soft, warm. You could feel your father's hand slipping from your grasp. Your heart beat heavily in your chest, fear gripping you so suddenly. You weren't ready yet. You didn't want to leave just yet. The cold hand fell out of your palms as you reached out to grab it again. All you felt was air. It was hard to keep your eyes open. You simply needed to rest. Not yet. I don't want to. You opened your eyes and squinted through the water cascading down your face. Koshiro kneeled before you, ready to splash another heaping of water on you. What was that for? He leaned up and noticed you were in the castle garden, seated on a bench next to the fountain. Amidst the blossoming flowers in the courtyard was an obscene number of dead bodies in this once peaceful area. Visions flashed in your head, of memories you would have rather forgotten. The throne room, the attack, your father. He's gone. You patted your chest several times in different places, dubious to believe that you were still alive. What transpired in your father's room was very much real. You were still of this world, at least from what your senses told you. Jake! You looked to your other side and found Leandros also waiting. Leandros! He's dead! I know. Koshiro informed me of what happened. You looked back at Koshiro and your fingers curled into a fist. Leandros, You stopped as Koshiro turned away from you again to avoid eye contact. Why was he not stopping you? Surely he must know what you were about to tell Leandros. Unless you knew exactly how Leandros would react. Would Leandros even believe such a claim? It's nothing. Huh? Hey, Jake, are you still feeling alright? Leandros whispered something to Koshiro's ear, mumbling something about if he hit your head. Koshiro killed your father. There was nothing stopping you from saying that. You wanted to believe that he was the cause of all this, that he betrayed and killed your father. To have an end to all this now, have someone who could take the brunt of the blame. But despite what you saw and with so little evidence to go by, it was all that you could reason. But if he really was an assassin, why were you not just some lifeless body among the countless others in the castle? Why did he wait until today to kill your father? Was there an ulterior motive to this madness? A grand conspiracy too unfathomable for you to grasp? Or was this just the signs of jealousy and envy? Your memory was hazy, but you could still remember a time when your father smiled at you and called you his pride and joy. You don't remember when or the reason why he stopped smiling, or even the last time he spoke to you in such a kind way. But it was always clear that once Koshiro showed up, he almost seemed to ignore you at that point. He never wanted to see you, and if he did, it was almost as though he found it a chore. I wonder if there's an alternative to that scene if you make it there beforehand. It appeared as though you were replaced by an outsider, and it was a heartbreaking revelation. Hey, Jake. Yeah? You've just been sitting there, not responding when I called you. I know how you are feeling right now, a sense of hopelessness. I can attest to that. I've been through something similar, though that was ages ago. But you have to stay strong, alright? You can't give up. Alright. Let's get going, then. We'll have plenty of time to talk at the ship. It's just far too dangerous here. Koshiro, can you help out Jake? I'm going to run ahead to make sure it's safe. Before the two of you could say anything, Leandros was already running over to the exit to the garden. The two of you were left alone, and you swallowed hard and unease. I know what you were going to say. Trying to betray me for all I've done to your family. Koshiro was glaring at you. The orange in his eyes gave way to pitch black as though they were empty. An unsettling aura surrounded him, and you felt sick to your stomach. This was not Koshiro, or rather not the one you knew. If you could even say that you truly knew him. You had better keep your mouth shut if you want to get out of this alive. If you want Leandros' heart to keep beating. Your breathing became heavy. He was threatening you, and you had the feeling that he could have ended Leandros in your life any moment. You looked over at Leandros. He was still checking the area, completely unaware of the situation you were now in. When he looked back, his eyes had returned to normal. The sinister aura had vanished, and he looked at you with concern. Jake, are you sure you're okay? Just who was he, really? Did he make you see that? Leandros hollered back, signaling that it looked safe. You tried to stand up, but were still shaken from everything that transpired. You wished you had a bit of assistance, so Koshiro reached out a hand. What was he doing? Was he truly your ally, or was he just trying to gain your trust again? You stared at it for a few seconds, then carefully put your hand in his. The word thank you became lost in your mouth, but as he helped you up, he simply nodded, as though he understood. Jake! His voice was just as composed as always. I'm sorry. He was gentle as you were brought to your feet. He let go of your hand once he was confident that you could stand on your own. He stayed with you, walking just slightly behind as the two of you joined back with Leandros. You had to remain strong. You already lost your father. You wouldn't lose Leandros. If Koshiro was truly devoted to keeping you alive and out of harm's reach, then that was good enough for you. Whether or not he was truly to be trusted would have to be determined later, but for now you had to focus on surviving this ordeal. You wanted to tell yourself that this was just another nightmare. Running through the streets and witnessing that the castle wasn't the only place being attacked was a horrifying awakening. You grew up in a world that was at peace for so long that you had nurtured a false sense of security. Your city was supposed to be one of the safest places in the world, and yet here you were under siege. You didn't have time to stop and help the various people suffering. It seemed that the assassins weren't just after your blood. Every so often you caught slight wisps of that purple mist emanating from all around you. You questioned why no one else was noticing it or even mentioning it. Perhaps they were all just too focused on the chaos to care. Or maybe this was just the start of you going mad. After all, who could stay sane after seeing this? The sails and masts of the ships poked up high above the buildings. As you turned down an alley, the ocean came in sight. The smell of seaweed and fish became even stronger, and your shoes stomped down on age-worn wood. It was abnormally quiet. Usually the docks would have been so packed that every few minutes someone would have been bumped into the water. But right now, no one stirred. There wasn't anyone else around. Only a hulking figure stood leaning against a pole. He turned your way and approached. Took you damn well long enough. Both Leandros and Koshiro stepped slightly ahead of you. You didn't see him until he approached, but both of your guardians became tense. What's that look for? I wasn't expecting you to be here, Ramos. Really now? You were the one to tell me to meet here. I told you to be here only if you had Jake with you. So, what's it matter? He's here right now. That's exactly the problem. Why would you be here and not out looking for him? Huh? You've already found him. Why would I need to do that? I suppose I wasn't expecting you to know that he was with me. What the hell are you saying? Are you trying to confuse me or something? I didn't know he was with you in the first place. Oh, wait, I see now. You think I'm one of those bad guys now, don't you? It's a bit hard to trust people right now. Many of my own soldiers don't appear to be who I thought they were. I have every right to be skeptical. Well, you're reading far too into this. You asked me to meet here in case of an emergency. You're in Castle. Probably the whole city is long gone now with all those killers swarming about. I signed up to protect your prince, not lay down my life for your kingdom. And since I don't exactly know the layout of your castle, I thought it'd be best to at least wait here by the docks for you. At the very least, you or the prince would have swung by. So you've forsaken all those people in the castle. Hold your damn horses, Leo. I did what I could to see them out of the castle and clear away. Took care of plenty of those assassins and saved quite a few nobles, but they ended up screaming and running away from me. Probably thought I was the enemy. Completely ungrateful. Besides, I should be saying the same about you. These are your guests, after all. The king made it very clear what our priorities were in the waiting room. Well, then I apologize for not making a better call of judgment. Like your plans have been entirely successful so far. Leandros gritted his teeth, and even you found that to be uncalled for. Ramos didn't need to remind him what happened so harshly. Regardless of how things have turned out, you were given a task and you went against it. So then what do you want me to do? Stay here and fight those damn monsters? Or would you rather I tie my hands around my back so you can keep an eye on me? I'm sure you could easily break free from that. Perhaps, but by the looks in your eyes, it's going to be hard to convince you, and I'm not much of a sweet talker to men. One way or another, I'm getting aboard that ship, though. I want the fastest route out of here while I have the chance. I know a doomed city when I see one, and I don't want to be here during the aftermath. This city is far from fallen. Not so long as our soldiers stand and fight and the prince still breathes. Sure, whatever you say. Huh? Oh, for fuck's sake! Ramos closed fists tight and walked towards you. Stay where you are. We haven't deemed you an ally yet. Don't be so dense. I know you can hear it too. They're here. Thank you. From the alleyways poured out 3, 5, 10 assassins. More than half of them looked injured with black blood dripping off their wounds. The dark mist was thick around the group of them. Damn, we've wasted too much time here. They will not get to Jake. Damn, just how many snuck into our kingdom? Even my scouts never anticipated this many. They must have showed up recently. Save the chatter till after we beat them into the ground. Even though they were outnumbered, they still rushed headfirst into the group of assassins. Steel clashed behind you. The three of them fought surprisingly well together. Koshiro buried his knife deep into the leg of a man leaping towards Ramos, while the rhino slammed aside one coming for Leandros. It was as if their previous feud had vanished. They knew who the real enemy was, and they set aside all their differences to defeat them. Jake, get to the ship! Leandros was granted a slight respite, a few seconds to glance your way before he was brought back into the fray. An assassin broke free from the fight and made his way towards you. No, you don't! Koshiro leapt through the air, spinning like an acrobat and landing on the shoulders of the man. Before the assassin was able to take the fox off of him, he had 2 daggers sticking out the sides of his neck and black blood spewing from the wound. Koshiro leapt off the man and landed on the ground with grace. He stared back at you before turning to defend himself. You didn't need to be told twice, and staying here gawking wasn't doing them any favors. You scurried away from the fight and ran towards the ship. Every breath was ragged. Your legs and arms were sore. Your stomach still hurt, and you wanted to lay down and rest. Hurry! You glanced up, and there stood a woman leaning along the railing of the ship, waving towards you. Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all you do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Kay Silver, and thank you above and beyond. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if you want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our Not Safe for Work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!